And we're live. Welcome everyone.
Hi,
Tuesday night
everybody.
Q&A. I'm Clay, along with the gracious E-Train. We'll be your host and main antagonist for the night.
Antagonist.
This is a night when y'all get to kind of run the show. Y'all get to ask your questions, comments, whatever. We'll, throw out some topics, some ideas. Maybe we may talk a little bit. You never know. But it's good to see you. Appreciate y'all
So,
joining us.
so get the questions going. Throw them out there. We want to see. We want to hear. We want to respond. Whatever you
Yeah,
guys want.
it has been a a modestly interesting week. Hello, Melissa. Hello,
Hey,
Brentwood. How the hell
hey,
are
guys.
y'all? It's good to see you. Uh, been a modestly interesting week. Don't know how many people have been following it terribly closely, but Bitcoin has been on a tear of late. We did one of our first shows back in August of 22. So it's been a hot minute, but we did one of our first shows on Bitcoin and blockchain. What is Bitcoin? How does it work? Whatever. And at that time, Bitcoin hovered around 21,000. Today, it closed just under 57,000. So that's about 171% return in a year and a half.
That was one expensive pizza, is all I have to say.
Yeah. If you remember in the first video, we talked about the first Bitcoin transaction, which
Mm-hmm.
was somebody offered 10,000 Bitcoin in 2010. They offered 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. Right now, that 10,000 Bitcoin would be worth about $500 million.
Expensive pizza.
Probably the most expensive pizza in history. And I've actually got the image of the pizza that we bought. The guy that offered the trade,
Mm-hmm.
he posted picture of the pizza when it was delivered, and it's got his little kid's hand reaching for the pizza.
I hope it had lots of toppings.
Now, I think it was just kind of like a plain pepperoni cheese pizza.
Daggone. Like
Yeah,
Brentwood said, dang.
I'm seeing if I can find that.
I can't do this blurred background. I'm trying to. We got complaints that I was in my bedroom. I'm sorry we don't have 2 offices, but it is creeping out my vision.
To be fair, there's only
There we
one
go.
person that complained.
Well, true.
So, just not going to worry about them a whole lot or that complaint. There's just what would be a perfect background for Ellen? Maybe we ought to have a contest. What would be the perfect background for Ellen?
Morkies.
Morkies.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
may have misfiled it somewhere.
Carson says you're trying to find your mind, the one you lost.
I'm not paying any attention to Carson.
Oh, you love Carson. Stop it.
Carson's a good dude.
No, Carson, we were talking about the pizza that was bought for 10,000 Bitcoin before Bitcoin was really a thing, and now it's worth how much, Clay?
About $500 million.
There you go. And Carson again, look, if I'm not making awkward bedroom comments, it doesn't really matter. No, not really. It doesn't matter to me. I was just trying to try something different, but the fuzziness just messed with my crazy vision, my astigmatism, and my cataracts. So I couldn't hack it. Couldn't do it.
All right, got to do this. Finally found something I can use here. Let me throw this up, and share. This is the dude that offered 10,000 Bitcoin for these 2 pizzas.
That's Papa John's.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I know that garlic sauce right up there, or ranch. That's ranch up there. Oh yeah.
He is, and here's the picture I was talking about. That's his kid's hand reaching for the pizzas.
Oh, they got olives on there. Forget that. 560
Yeah.
million.
$560 million worth of pizza right there. How cool is that? You can't beat that.
That's just like 2 medium pizzas.
Yeah, but I will admit, right now, that's a pretty good looking pizza. Pull
That
off
is
the
true.
olives,
Yep.
and I could nosh on that for a little while.
Bye, Carson.
Carson,
Have fun at
getting
work.
to work. Go to work, man. Make that money, pay those taxes. Well, you're in Canada. Your taxes don't do me any good. You need to move to the US, pay US taxes.
God, no one wants to.
Go ahead and send contributions to Social Security
Mm.
because I won't mind. How old is Carson's in his 40s?
He is 40
Okay. So
because he's 7 years younger than I am.
So, Carson, if you move to the US, you can pay Social Security taxes and have a very real chance of never getting your Social Security. So,
Kind of like me. Yay.
come on down. Hope
Yikes.
everyone's having a good night. We were just talking about Bitcoin, and when we started the show, Bitcoin was about $21,000 a coin. Now it's $57,000 a coin.
So 570 million now.
Yeah. You know, Ethereum hasn't done bad. It's gone from 1,600 to about 3,300. So that's about 105, 110%. I'm going to
Tell
have to
me
put
you kept your Ethereum.
I'm going to have to put Melissa in timeout. More olives. Gross. Yeah, I'm just not an olive fan. And yes, I still have the Ethereum.
Good. I know Clay and I, this is one thing that I think can, you can't live with someone who doesn't like the same things on pizza. Neither one of us like olives, anchovies. He will do pineapple there and here and now, but I'm a non-pineapple. I mean, pineapple does not belong on a pizza. I don't care who you are. Yes, Brentwood olives. I just can't.
Yeah, just not a fan of olives. I'll use olive oil because it doesn't really end up flavoring the food greatly. But yeah, Melissa, if we, ever out there in California or you're here on the coast, we got to eat, we will save you all the olives.
We will pick them all off and send them to you.
They're all yours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just for comparison, during that time, the S&P was around 4,100. It's now around a little over 5,000. So that's about a 24% return. Carson, y'all don't like olives? Thought y'all were perfect.
We are. You're not. That's how this works.
Excuse me.
Yeah, there's just something about them. Like we both use olive oil. Of course, Clay's trying to get away from seed oils, which you said olive oil was a seed oil.
I think olive oil is actually okay. Even
Okay.
though it probably technically is a seed oil. Brentwood, I like green olives, but not a fan of the black olives.
You like martinis, don't you? Here's my guess.
Yeah, martinis. It's just vodka with an olive.
Well, it depends on the kind of martini. Isn't there gin martinis and vodka martinis?
Yeah, it used to be there's, a combination of vermouth and what else? I forget all.
Yes, you, Brentwood.
We'll buy the 10-pound cans.
There you go. Y'all can munch all those olives all you want to.
So Bitcoin, any of y'all own any crypto? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, some of the other little altcoins. What's Elon Musk's favorite coin? Dogecoin.
I don't.
He hasn't tweeted anything about Doge in quite a time. He took a little heat over the last time he did. So Carson.
Yep.
Okay, for pineapple tidbits, cut up zucchinis and can them in pineapple juice. That actually may not be bad. I saw something weird the other night made with pineapple juice, and I'm trying to remember what it is. Pineapple juice and coconut milk.
That sounds like a some sort of tropical drink.
Yeah, it sounds a little weird, but this guy was like, this is gonna be weird. Tried it and he just adored it. Just loved it.
Okay, hang on. We got y'all are killing pineapple, zucchini, and then in pineapple juice. Huh. Not terrible. Let Vermouth look at the glass. That's for me. I feel you.
Just a quick glance.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa, I have 4 or 5 jars of different kinds of olive open in the fridge right now. You are a olive aficionado. That's pretty severe. 4 or 5 jars, that's pretty severe.
We used to call that back when it was okay to say, like I used to be before it was not okay to say, a coffee snob. I think Melissa has the olive snob thing going on.
She definitely has a love affair with them going. 5 jars open at the same time.
Listen, respect. If there are any that are hot, like not temperature hot, but spicy hot, you might could talk Clay into it. You're gonna have a guest, Melissa.
It's all right. Keeping it all in the family.
That's right. And this is a family, and we hope that everybody here feels that way. We like to have open discussion about all sorts of different topics, whether we agree or not. It's okay to talk about. And we want this to be a safe place for everyone to discuss whatever you want. We don't judge. We don't come at you. We're not going to, if you have an opinion that differs from ours, we're not going to be rude or ugly about it. And Carson, Melissa says, come on over. It's probably not that awful of a drive from Edmonton to California. Like coming here would be longer.
I was sitting here trying to remember where Carson lives, and he lives, around Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa's in Southern California, so
I'm gonna look it up.
I don't know,
See how
1,000
long
miles.
it would take. I'll tell you.
I'm guessing 1,000 miles. What kind of guesses do y'all have? I'll see you and calculate your drive time. 2 days. So I think I'm close at 1,000 miles.
Hang on. I gotta get okay. How do I
Brentwood says 1,200. Carson 1,700. You're going to drive 1,700 miles in 2 days?
My phone's still trying to catch up. Hang on.
It's 850 miles a day.
I've got 28 kilometers, 2,800 kilometers, whatever that is in miles.
Ellen?
Huh?
Isn't there a way to convert that to miles?
There is, but not on my phone at the moment. I'm doing the best I can.
That's funny.
It would take 27 hours. So yeah, 2 days. Oh, so you got 75 to 80. You're fine.
I forget it's through Montana, Wyoming,
Montana,
Utah, Nevada.
No, Montana, Idaho, no Wyoming, Utah, and then a little bit of Nevada, and then California.
So you'd probably be okay tooling along until you get to California.
Okay, what does this mean? 8 times 5? Divided
8
by,
hours.
Divided by 8 times 5? That's kilometers, though. Is he giving me a formula? Because I'm not. I can't math right now, Carson. I'm not in the mathing mood at the moment.
Montana's 496 miles on I-15 alone. But I would be willing to bet it is a beautiful 496 miles.
I bet it is too.
I'm a huge fan of Montana in the warm parts of the year for whatever month of the year that is. But yeah, I see pictures and I'm just like, I got to move there. Then I realize, 9 months of sub-zero winters. I'm like, maybe not.
Okay, you can't say that with Carson on here.
Can't say
Seeing as
what.
he's in Canada, the sub-zero winters. That's just
Oh, I
rude.
know. I know. I don't see how anybody lives in Canada. I really don't. We were
All right,
watching
Melissa.
the
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say we were watching the show the other night, True Detective, the 4th year. It's,
Clay hates it,
uh,
but I
it's up
like
in
it.
Alaska. Horrible, horrible show, horrible year. The first year was pretty good. Second year wasn't too bad, but this 4th year, this 4th season sucks.
It's got Jodie Foster.
Poor acting, poor directing, poor script, poor casting all the way around. Storyline sucks. But that aside, it's set up in Alaska. And it's like, there is no way in hell. These people are going out in the middle of winter, walking on the frozen edge of the ocean in hurricane winds.
But
Hell
Clay,
no.
it's a dry cold.
Hell no. Melissa, I have, what is that?
Kalamata,
Olives
olives with
with jalapenos
jalapenos and
and
peri peri
peri
peppers.
peppers. They have a
Now,
slight spice.
now you're just seducing Carson, Melissa. That's what's going on here. All right, so you're going to expect a guest in like a day and a half?
And that's another point, Carson. It's not as much the cold as the dark that gets me in the winter. The
I
long,
couldn't.
dark days, or the
I,
days, depends on how far north you are, the days of no sun.
I couldn't do it. I would
Yeah.
be the most depressed human on the planet.
Yeah. It's
Like
just,
that's just too much. I need
and
vitamin D,
yeah.
sunlight.
And I know it's beautiful up around Edmonton and the western part of Canada. Some
Hmm.
beautiful area. And I would dearly love that in the warm week or two during the summer. But yeah, it's
I
cold.
love my sunshine. I love my vitamin D.
Comes out to about 1,750 miles. I'm thinking 500 miles a day is a good drive, counting stops, lunches, stopping to eat, bathroom breaks, whatever. It
As long as
depends
I'm
on who
not
you're
riding with
riding
you.
with. Let's just say I have, had to take trips with some people that, you really need to catheterize them before you, put a leg bag on them before you go driving for any distance if you want to make any progress.
Listen, Clay swears I have a 50-mile bladder. I am upping that with every drive to my grandfather's house. It gets a little more. Um, when you've had two children and you've had issues, it's like, how long can you hold it? It's
Yeah,
tough.
she has graduated from 50 miles to maybe 60 miles now.
Like 120.
You stopped twice, and it's what, 120 miles to his house?
260.
It's not 260 miles to, is it?
Moffat.
I'm about to get in trouble here. I think Melissa's kind of your buddy. She's
Listen, it's not
she's your
easy.
your spirit animal.
I know she is. I told her that before. It is
I've seen the Go Girl, but not She-Wee.
two. It's 252 miles, and I stopped twice.
So 80 miles. Yeah. I rest my case.
Listen, it's a thing. Sometimes you just gotta tinkle. Like, oh. Listen, I scare the hell out of Clay when I drive.
Yeah,
So
Ellen will tool on down the road, just oblivious to the speed limits and any cops.
I just want to get where I'm going.
Yeah, we all do, but I want to get there without $300 tickets.
How many speeding tickets have I ever gotten?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's how many you've had. I've had this many. A big fat 0. I've gotten pulled for other things like my license plate is expired, but that's about it.
You've never been pulled for speeding.
No, never. Never.
Interesting. Did
I
not
swear
know
on the
that.
Bible. Swear on the Bible. Never.
I think Ellen just kicked something off there, threw something off there.
Swear on the Bible. I have never, ever been pulled for speeding.
Carson, I'm not oblivious to the speed limits, but you got to know how hard to brake when you see the cops.
Absolutely, Carson.
Only problem
And
is when you don't see them and you blow right past them.
Well, there are these funny little
And now there's a lot of
highways.
cameras. Yeah.
There's funny little highways where there's actually a wire fence on poles down the entire midsection of the highway, so there's no way a cop could even like see you and turn around and get you. So if you can't see them on the right side, then you're fine. Oh, Carson, come on.
Carson.
I testify with my soul on the Bible, I have never, ever had a speeding ticket. Never been pulled for it.
Yeah, I can't say that.
And you get on me. See how that works?
Fair enough.
Thank
I
you.
have been pulled my share of times.
I have not.
So nobody's admitted or to own any Bitcoin.
Yay, yay, nay, nay. I know, right?
Carson's going to preaching tonight.
He is. I thought you were at work. What is going on?
Ellen's like, leave me alone and go to work.
No. I'm not saying that at all. You have some. Carson has some. I messed something up. Bitcoin.
Carson has some Bitcoin.
Not surprised. I still got to send you that list of coins that I have from my grandfather because I don't know what to do with them. Even though Clay thinks they're worthless.
Clay doesn't think. Clay actually got an app. You take a picture of them and then it evaluates them. Obviously not perfect, but
he paid a hell of a lot more than you were supposed to call the company Liberty Coin.
Yeah. Do I still have the coins? Probably somewhere on this desk. Ellen cleaned off my desk. I can't find anything. Ellen is the best cleaner I've ever seen, but when she cleans something, she just finds something, she puts it up out of sight.
Not this time. Not this time. I put all your little papers together and organized them by what they were and these little thumbs up post-it notes on them, and so you could tell which was which. And then I put the description on what they were. So don't even go there this time. No. Nope.
Yeah, I was going to say, Carson says he needs to get a hardware device. I would recommend a like a Ledger X. I'll just flash this up here. Whoops.
You already got the pizza up.
And, do your own research, your own checking, but I think you'll find this is probably the most recommended device for a number of reasons. Very secure, very good hardware. It's
You're not
easy to
showing it.
recover.
You're not showing
Oh,
it.
duh, sorry.
That helps. There you go.
It's yeah, do your own research, check it out, but, um, that's a pretty damn good coin, and, oh, what is it?
There's been some concerns about Ledger X recently. Can't remember what it was.
Um,
Does anyone know? Clay is so focused right now because he's like, damn it, I bought one. Now I got to figure out what's going on.
no, this is just that's
Brentwood
not the
says,
one.
no Bitcoins for me. I'm with you. I couldn't buy a bit of a Bitcoin. I get it. I'd be
Oh,
the
I'm
one to know.
still
And oh, come on, Carson. You get all this feminine attention when you're here, except for Clay.
oh, I don't get any.
Huh? I don't know what's going on right now. He's focused
Okay,
on something else. There we
how's
go.
this? Second thing I would get is this. This is a titanium wallet to hold your seed phrase. Now, for those not familiar,
What is a seed phrase?
yeah, with those not familiar with Bitcoin and the blockchain, you've got a relatively long, complex password. But if you ever lose it, you have this seed phrase. Now,
Pizza Man.
here is the BP39 word list. And if you'll notice, this list contains 2,048 words.
Okay.
You pick out when you establish your Bitcoin account, you pick out and choose 24 of these words.
Okay.
And phrase, those words in that order will allow you to recover your Bitcoin account. So, like if you have your Bitcoin on that jump drive, that Ledger Nano X, and it's destroyed. Well, if you have your seed phrase, that your list of 24 words, you can recover and rebuild that. You
So
can
you mean like
recover your Bitcoin.
if it accidentally gets thrown away in a landfill somewhere,
Yep.
like the guy in
Or burned in a house fire.
England,
That's
that was
why
awful.
this is titanium. It will survive a fire.
How
So,
is that? Is it a cylindrical?
it's yeah, you get these, little letters and numbers with it, and you just
Oh,
insert them.
you add it. Okay, got.
Yeah.
Well, is it? It's not inserted. It's more like put
Well, there are
in.
different
Like
ones.
okay,
You can engrave it. This actually
yeah,
engraves it. You
that's
stamp
what I thought.
the letter zone.
Gotcha.
I didn't notice that at first. Mine, they come in little words that you break off and you slide in, but it's all
Okay.
titanium. And so if there's a fire, it'll survive the fire. And even if your um, jump drive, I'll just call it a jump drive, is burned or destroyed or unrecoverable, you can still recover everything with your seed phrase.
Do I know
So
where
it's
that is? That was a joke.
careful with
people.
insurance and, some of the stuff because I'm probably worth more dead than alive. So y'all be careful out there.
I'm kidding. That was a joke.
Let's see. Been some concerns about the Ledger X recently. I can't remember what it was. The only thing I've heard is that they were, a lot of their shares were owned by FTX. But the Ledger company themselves is a reliable, solid company. It's one of the few decent investments or purchases that FTX, well-known Sam Bankman, purchased. Caroline Ellison, that whole group. So I haven't heard any concerns about the Ledger X, and recommended this to somebody, I don't know, a couple months ago. They did their research and they ended up buying one. So only reason my ex doesn't want me dead is because she gets money from me. Yeah, that's your ex.
I have
But
so
if she
many
knew,
things I want to say, but I can't say because somebody will probably try to kill me. So I'm just gonna.
so anyway, been an interesting, couple months for the crypto. Bitcoin ETF got approved. That's ETF. That's like a mutual fund to buy Bitcoin with. And the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, approved issuing this fund, ETF, electronic ETF. What does ETF stand for? I'm losing my mind. It is exchange traded funds. So it's like a mutual fund,
But not an NFT.
but not an NFT. But it, will go out and acquire actual coins with the funds invested in the ETF. So that's kind of a new little deal. One is in the works for Ethereum as well. And there've been several Bitcoin ETFs come out. Now the advantage to Bitcoin holders or investors is that it makes it easily available to a whole lot more people. Some people would be scared to buy Bitcoin because they thought it was a fraud or a myth or a Ponzi scheme, whatever. Well, the SEC granting approval to the trading of this fund is kind of a stamp of legitimacy. And it's been around since 2009. It's gone from fractions of a penny to $57,000 in value.
But it is not a stock.
Nope, it is not a stock.
Just want to make that clear. Also, again, we've got quite a few watching. If you have any questions about anything, please do not be afraid on Rumble, Twitter, YouTube. Throw the question out there. We'll be glad to answer it in the best way that we can. Or if you have a comment or just want to say hi.
So does everybody understand what I meant when I was describing the seed phrase?
Mhm.
Over 2,000 different words. You pick out the words you want. You list them on the little titanium card in order, and it should survive most any earthly event. Put it in your safe deposit box or vault, or hide it in a place in the corner of your closet or house. If the house burns down, you get to rummage through the ashes, but it'll survive the fire.
Brentwood's got it. Melissa's got it. I think we're good.
Good. Thank you. Sometimes I know what I want to say, but my mind works faster than my tongue. So while my mind is going, sometimes I don't exactly remember what my tongue said or the order it all came out. So if I'm thinking on something, trying to read something, doing some multitasking several things, sometimes I'm not too sure my explanation came out too well. But if you hold
attention, sorry.
Yeah, if you hold coin, I would definitely recommend that titanium seed phrase card or wallet. By all means, that is terribly important. And we talked about this before. The guy actually was mining Bitcoin in 2010 or 11. He had like 8,000 Bitcoin on his computer, and it was, and not worth much, not getting a whole lot of publicity. And for some reason, I think he replaced his computer, and I forget the exact story. His maid or somebody threw the computer out before he had a chance to remove the hard drive and transfer the data. Well, garbage company picked it up before he discovered it, took it to the landfill. And so he is,
in England, right?
yeah, he's been petitioning the local government to allow him to go to the landfill. He knows what area or section of the landfill the garbage was dumped that day, and to rummage, dig through it, or whatever. They have turned him down repeatedly. Won't
He's
let
offered
him
them.
search the garbage. He's offered them a
He's
third of it.
yeah,
Which,
like just let me in.
yeah. And 8,000 Bitcoin right now would be worth $456 million.
Do you think
So
somebody already found it?
no.
No.
So he's offered them, $150 million just to give him permission to go dig through a landfill. I'm like, cut me in. I'll bring my shovel and help you dig.
Yeah, no kidding.
And now I just saw where recently he's approaching them again with an offer. He's got some sort of AI involved to help him narrow the location and the spot where to dig. And he's asking them again for permission. So we'll see if they give it, but I don't know what the problem is with letting the guy go dig around. The practical reality is after, 10, 12 years in the ground, rain, water, rust, dirt, etc., that hard drive is probably corrupted. Whatever he had on there is probably not recoverable.
But maybe, because what happens to that money?
To what money?
The money that he had in Bitcoin. What happens if no one can recover it?
There are several accounts out there that people have forgotten, lost, et cetera, et cetera.
How can you forget?
And account is deemed inactive when nobody's touched it in 3 years. And
Then what happens?
It just stays out there. It's just not in circulation. Those accounts are never touched because you can't access that coin without the password. You can't hack in those accounts. So the Bitcoin just sits in those accounts.
Okay, wait. So let's just say I had Bitcoin. I had the little thing, the fob, all the things. And I just didn't really care for about 5 years. Is the money still there when I go back?
Yeah. The coins still are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we got some comments here. Moffat.
Here you go.
What kind of local council doesn't want 150 mil? Just have him sign a waiver.
James Howells, South Wales Landfill, Newport City Council.
The platters are most likely fine, even if the rest of the hardware is trash. True. They can still get that. Melissa, there's a Big Bang Theory episode. I love Big Bang Theory. That Sheldon, oh my God, cracks me up. And then Carson says, dead coins, Ellen. If no one ever comes or ever recovers the coins or has, what happens?
They just sit in the account forever, untouched.
For the rest of the
Rest of time
until
immemorial.
our government destroys the world. Then sorry.
Well, as long as there, still some computers running, Bitcoin will still live.
Okay.
So that's part of the security, safety, uh, inability to hack it kind of aspect.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I have $1 million that I can't touch, clearly it's there. It's definitely useless.
Yeah,
I
the
just
the
didn't know
guy,
what happens
the guy who
if there's.
developed the guy who developed Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, has about 800,000 Bitcoin in his account.
God.
Do the math.
Nakamoto, can I just have like a few,
Yeah.
couple?
Yeah. Several people have claimed to be Satoshi, but there's pretty strong reason to believe that they're not. Big reason would be, as you pointed out,
Yeah.
it can't move any of the Bitcoin. Now, some of it was actually moved, I believe, a year or two ago, just from one account to another. It wasn't
Hmm.
spent, it wasn't transacted in any business deal. The individual didn't profit from it, but it was just like, hello, I'm still here out somewhere. But Satoshi kind of disappeared in 2014 was his last communication, I believe.
Why for come?
Don't know. There's some speculation that Satoshi actually works with a, let's call it a clandestine agency, the CIA, NSA, DIA.
See, that's what bothers me about all this is these are agencies, in my opinion,
No,
three-letter
no.
agencies in the US that are using this to pay off people for favors or whatever to make our lives a living hell. Sorry.
Well, the thing is, how do I explain this? Satoshi, and originally thought maybe it was a group of people, but whoever did it, one had an extensive knowledge of cryptography and encryption programs,
Mhm.
because 5 of them are used in the Bitcoin process. That's one reason why it's unhackable. Secondly, there were like, when Bitcoin was written, there was like, I don't know, 32, 34 different encryption programs. Well, all of them but one had been certified by, some independent group as not having a back door, which meant the NSA couldn't decrypt them easily, get in and see what you had encrypted. The NSA is pretty good at that. That's what they live for.
The NSA and the NSF, they pretty much do whatever the heck they want to.
Well, so all of them but one were certified. And then who's the guy with the WikiLeaks?
Julian Assange.
Snowden. Snowden.
Okay.
Not Wiki.
Yep.
Yeah.
Julian
The NSA
Assange.
leaks.
Okay, I thought you said okay,
Yeah,
WikiLeaks.
Snowden gave info to WikiLeaks, which Assange published. Snowden, who's now in Russia, living in Russia because he's, warrants everywhere else are out for him. In his releases, he showed that the NSA did have backdoors to every certified encryption program.
Duh.
The only program they didn't have a back door to was the one Satoshi used in
Well, Julian,
initializing the hash.
just to be clear, Julian Assange is being tortured and will probably die in prison with absolutely no charges against him. Tucker Carlson just visited him recently, and it is not a good situation. He's fading away fast, and no one seems to care, which is really sad.
Well, Assange, according to some in the agency, his leaks cost some agents their lives. And that's why the folks in the, plus it compromised some of their backdoors some of their security. He did a fair amount of harm to the agencies, whether he should have or not.
Three-letter agencies to me have been trying for years to just take down everything good about America. I mean, the things that, okay, it may have been a little breached American security a teeny bit, but like seriously, the stuff that he put out there is pretty freaking scary.
Who put
And
out
he's
there?
sitting Assange through
Oh,
WikiLeaks.
yeah.
And he's still sitting in prison and they're trying to kill him. I mean, he's tortured every single day.
Well, he's been
Trust me,
imprisoned.
you can.
I wouldn't necessarily say he's being actively tortured. Now, if you want to say
Oh,
being, locked up and is being tortured, I wouldn't necessarily argue with that.
no, I mean, Tucker
But
just saw him when he was in Russia and he's being
yeah.
starved
No,
and
he
he
saw him when he
is,
was in London.
or
Now,
yeah.
yeah, I think Tucker met with Snowden. He didn't meet with Assange in Russia. I'm not even sure he met with
No,
Snowden,
he
come to
met
think
with
about it.
Putin. That was a different trip, I think. But
Yeah,
anyway, he did meet with
yeah.
Assange, or he saw Assange. But he said, yeah, he's being tortured every single day. He's like wasting away. There's nothing to him anymore.
Yeah, he has paid a great price. Now, Snowden was concerned about invasions of privacy, is why he released a lot of the techniques that the NSA, CIA were using to gather data. And Snowden felt like some of them were invasions of privacy, were excessive, etc. So, I can see both sides. I think a lot of what they were doing was excessive and, improperly invading privacy. Flip side is it apparently cost some agents their lives. So you would like to say there could have been a better way to handle it. I'm not sure what it was. Don't know if Snowden tried other avenues. Fair enough. But that's the real problem with Snowden and Assange, that the leaks, what they printed, what they released, etc., caused some severe problems. Or I should say were alleged to. Some of the people in the agencies and the intelligence services really personally take offense to the idea that Snowden and Assange be pardoned and released. So any information coming out of an intelligence agency should be doubted. You don't know what's true, what's not. So it is,
Okay, he did actually interview Julian Assange
yeah, I thought he might have.
not too long ago. How do I search? But yeah, he did. Like not too long ago. So go ahead. Sorry. I was just trying to find the.
Nope, that's all right. Um, was just looking. But I remember vaguely when Snowden kind of admitted it was wrong to release the information without quote unquote curation, without removing certain bits of info that could be very harmful. Snowden just did a almost a big, huge data dump, and that was the problem with it.
Well,
So
Sometimes the world needs a data dump, in my humble ass opinion.
yeah, but if innocent people died, if people, vital to this country died, if people helping this country died,
Whoa, whoa.
where's the limits?
How many wars have we been in that are unfounded? There was absolutely no result. How the Afghanistan evacuation, people died too. If a couple CIA agents die, that is, you know what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not acceptable to me that we just throw people's lives away ever.
We've thrown so
In
many
any
lives away.
case, in any case, it's just not acceptable to me. If somebody does something which causes the death of American agents, they should be tried or punished.
But Clay, they
If
will throw our sons and daughters out there without a second thought.
they should be punished.
Thank you.
Yeah, both sides. Um,
But there's no accountability on either side.
on either side.
No, there's accountability on one side, because if you throw the information out there, you get thrown in jail with no charges and tortured.
Yep. Oh, I don't think holding Assange without charges, without trial, is in any way, shape, manner, or form correct. That's, that's like, that's just not the way people should be handled. So, Susan, I have to ask why Chelsea Manning is not in jail and Assange is.
Mhm.
That's a fair question. I don't have a good answer. One is politically acceptable, the other one is not.
Two-tiered government system.
Yep.
Depends on who you are, how you get treated. Unfortunately.
Depends on, whose ox is being gored. If the leaks, I don't know. I can speculate. I don't want to speculate. I don't know for certain. But I think it's an issue.
Okay, hang on. Another one. Do you know what Obama repealed? Is that the appropriate term? Habeas corpus.
Yeah, I don't think it was an official act or an official act or repealing. He just ignored it. And I think that stems from he ordered the killing, the bombing of a US citizen who was who was cooperating or working for Al Qaeda. The
Working for
problem
or
is
with?
either and or both. The problem is the Constitution requires before an American citizen be imprisoned, whatever, much less executed, that they be tried. And he received no trial. He was able to put up no defense. I mean, the evidence against him was overwhelming. They had the goods.
He just
But
had him
he
executed.
still, yeah, without trial. Got to admit, got a problem with that. Flip side is if he's actively involved in killing American citizens, do you allow him to continue to do that? If you can't snag him and arrest him, put him up for trial? That's a big question. Clay, you need to research what happens to agents that go through the proper channels to report malfeasance. I'm not saying you should go through necessarily channels to report malfeasance. Because, yeah, I know what happens. Trust me, I've been close to it. But there are other ways to handle the dispersion of information, particularly classified information. Edward Snowden had full administrator privileges, which gave him access to almost every database, almost every file that the CIA was maintaining, or data that the CIA was accessing. He just downloaded a bunch of it and just did a document dump. There was a better way to do that. He should have been more careful in what he released enough information to expose what was going on, but not information which would cost lives. Are
Carson,
those
I don't think
agents
so.
that died actually innocent? I don't know exactly who died. They got stars on the wall. That's it. Innocent. You can argue both sides. One, in intelligence, the undercover agents, the people working in the field, nobody's innocent. It's not an area for nice, sweet, kind, naive people. Flip side is they didn't get a trial. They didn't have any evidence presented with them. They were working for or with the U.S., helping us, supposedly saving American lives by giving us better information. And they were terminated. Susan, I was thinking the suspension of habeas corpus was the opening of the door to shutting any opposition in the USA. Historically, there are trends and precedents for eliminating rights at the edges. And this is one of those cases where a right was eliminated at the edge. If you're going to try to ignore an individual's right to trial, what better case could you start off with than a American who was openly operating as a terrorist to kill, injure,
You're talking
hurt
about
Americans?
you're talking about the guy that was in Al Qaeda, not Assange.
Right. Talking about the guy in
I
Al
just want to
Qaeda.
clarify who you're still talking about because
Yes.
things have gotten a little back and forth on the comments.
Yeah. Talking about the Al Qaeda operative. So, yeah, I think he needed stopping. So what my question, and what I don't fully know, is what information did we have? What opportunity did we have to snag him before he could do more damage to Americans, before he could kill more Americans or contribute to killing more Americans? Either way, I don't know. That information is above my purview. But I kind of think we had chances or opportunities to do something different. If you see somebody about to kill an innocent person, you can intervene. You can defend that person, even using deadly force. So that's pretty clearly established in the law. So if this guy was doing something to actively kill Americans, I have a hard time saying that was actually wrong. I just don't know enough to say that was actually occurring, or whether this was just a simple first step.
We don't even know if he was actually a terrorist. That's just what we've been told.
Well, he had open correspondence, letters recorded. He wasn't shy about it. He was very public about it. His family knew about it. And nobody has denied that's what he was doing.
That is a concern. I mean, the January 6th thing is insane. I mean, there are people imprisoned who have 3 Purple Hearts. Seriously?
There are people in prison because they were given tours by police, Capitol Police, inside the Capitol. Doors were open for them. They were escorted around. You see videos of them walking around with guards just standing there.
And there were FBI informants guiding them around. It's on the videos.
Well, I'm just talking about uniformed Capitol Police,
I know you don't like to go
not
down the
people not people quote unquote undercover. I don't think anybody who was there walking peaceably, being shown the Capitol by police officers who were opening doors for them. I don't think they should be arrested and held without charges, without prosecution for 2 years. I think that's a violation of the Constitution.
You think?
I think, we have in this country, we have trouble bringing people to trial in under a year. And a lot of people are held in jail for a year while their, pretrial proceedings are going on. That's just wrong. You know, I understand some of the stuff, some people don't need to be walking the streets, but we need to find a way to get people in front of a judge and have their trial in a quote unquote reasonable time. And I don't think a year, somebody spending a year in jail without being convicted, without having their day in court,
Moffat,
is right.
they were in solitary confinement for 22 out of
Oh, I
24
know.
hours a day. They got to choose how they spent their 2 hours out of confinement. Do you want to shower? Do you want to call your family? Do you want to call your attorney? Or do you want to go outside?
Yeah, I think that's important. The
I mean,
people,
that's not okay. Not
the,
two of
the
three
people in
or
charge,
that's you got to choose one.
the people in charge of that system ought to be doing the time they're whimsically imposing on others. They ought to be treated the same way for the same period of time. I just believe every citizen has the right to a fair trial, a speedy trial.
Let me
Now,
ask you a question.
some of the lawyers may say, well, there's so much to be done. It's hard to do it quickly. We've got to
They
find a way
can't say
to
that.
improve the
They
system.
cannot say that when they take 3 illegal immigrants who beat up 2 cops in New York City and they didn't even, there's no bail. Go, bye.
Yeah.
That's not even okay. That is not even slightly okay with me.
Cases
And
like that are just further testimony to we don't have a system of justice.
no, we don't.
You know, our quote unquote justice system is becoming more and more whimsical. Political preferences and ideology are becoming more important than actually following the law. My
Yeah, and
opinion.
let me ask you this. Do you actually believe January 6th was an insurrection?
No, I don't think I've ever seen an insurrection in history where there was no guns. I do think some people got violent, assaulted
One
the
person,
police.
one person
But
died
wait
in
a
the
minute.
Capitol.
Wait
One.
a minute.
Okay.
But if you watch the video, the whole crowd was peaceful. The whole crowd was peaceful. The police removed the gates and people were mulling around in the crowd on the steps or whatever. And then the police started fire with no warning, with no orders, no push, trying to like escort people off the Capitol steps. You watch the videos, the police started firing rubber bullets randomly into the crowd. And then they started throwing out tear gas. And people being just popped by a rubber bullet made others get mad and angry at the police. It's
Yeah.
so, some of their anger and frustration at the police was egged on by the police. Now, was that intentional to try to stir up the crowd and a reaction? If you look, there were 400,000 people at that rally. If that group had wanted to commit an insurrection, they would have absolutely overrun the Capitol. You only had, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4,000 at the Capitol. And even out of that, only 100 or a few hundred were modestly aggravated or violent.
But
There's
Clay,
2,000 hours worth of film, and the vast majority of them were walking around inside the Capitol, peaceful, not being a threat to anybody, standing next to cops, chatting up with them, having their picture made with them. Thousands, several hundred thousands of them were being constrained by velvet ropes. There were a handful that, like Ashley Babbitt, broke the window, tried crawling in. A little bit more aggressive. She was trespassing. Don't think she deserved to be shot. Unarmed woman, not presenting a threat to anybody, life or death
who was a
presentation to
veteran?
anybody. Doesn't
He was
matter.
a veteran.
Doesn't matter. She was not presenting a threat. Can you use deadly force to shoot somebody who's trespassing, who's not
No,
presenting a threat?
no.
No.
I think the other thing I was going to say is that
Thank you,
Ray
Susan.
would absolutely not deny that there were at least 100 FBI agents in the crowd that
Yeah.
stirred things up.
The FBI director will never he's been asked repeatedly. He's never given information on how many FBI agents were there and what exactly was their role and participation in all the day's events. He never knows. He never asks. He never answers. That's fascinating to me. That's fast. I don't care, and it doesn't really matter if you like Trump or not. We're talking about fair and equal justice for everyone. I don't care if it's Antifa. I don't care if it's Trump supporters.
It's
They
the First
both
Amendment.
entitled to the same treatment. Peaceful
It's the First
opposition,
Amendment. Mhm.
peaceful opposition, freedom of speech. You have no right to destroy property, public or private. You have no right to intentionally hurt someone. You're to follow lawful police orders.
Oh,
So
we
you've
got a new
got
member. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. What took you so long?
Oh, wait, we got to do this one first. The rights people at the edges are the most important ones to protect, and they lose rights only a matter of time before the rest of us. Listen, it's not even that, Carson. It's once you give up one of your God given rights, you will never get it back. It is so much harder to give it back, to get it back, than it is to give it up. You can't give up the rights, or it's
Yeah.
just gone.
And Carson, I agree with what Ellen said, but I also agree with what you said in terms of like freedom of speech. You don't need the right of freedom to speech if you're saying something that people like to hear and agree with. You need that right when you're saying something people don't like to hear, don't want to hear. So, people talk about hate speech or threatening speech, whatever. Now, you can't threaten bodily harm to somebody. That's not freedom of speech. Your rights end where somebody else's nose begins. But just because you say, you know, hey, you're a girl or a boy instead of, one of 36 different genders, that's not threatening somebody. That's not being violent at somebody.
They call those microaggressions.
Yeah. The right to free speech exists because we want to live in a society where people can say things that others may not agree with. Those are the rights that need protecting. If you're doing something everybody likes, it doesn't need protecting.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
got one
kind of
more.
what we're losing. We don't give up our rights directly, we give them up by proxy through other people. I'm probably in the middle between y'all two. I think it's both. Like, you know, I'm trying to think of a good example.
Hey, Carson, are you signed up for the membership thing yet, so you can get free memberships? Because it's about that time to do a new thing.
Yeah, we can give out, I don't know, 5 or something a month. And the ones we gave out previously have, it's a new month, so we've got a few to give out. So Carson, if you're signed up, Brentwood, are you heading out? Yep. I have to catch the
Sorry,
rest of this
love.
replay crew. Y'all have a great night. Thank you for joining us. We love you, Brentwood. You have a good night. I don't think Carson's got that figured out yet. Still technical difficulties.
I can't do it anymore, I don't think, because I'm not you. I used to sign in as you, but now I'm manager and I can't do it. You gotta do it on the YouTubes.
Okay, how do I do that? Do you know?
Yep, I do. I don't.
Can you give me subtle hints?
No, I just gotta do it.
All right, y'all. Technical timeout while Ellen tools downstairs.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Brent, we need Brentwood to be a monitor so she can screen out the language. Brentwood, you left just a moment too soon. Carson, just may have to ship Ellen up there so she can help you figure it out. She is dying to give you a membership. And y'all got to remember, apparently, from what Ellen was telling me, because I don't get involved in a lot of this stuff, apparently we just agreed to give them. We don't control who they're awarded to. So it's just like, yeah, okay, it's that time. Give away 5. Boom. 5 people are chosen at random. So we don't actually control who gets them, which is kind of funny to me. And haven't done this in a while, so need to do this. Melissa, this is for you. Show me the money. That's still the best swoosh on YouTube.
I took a bite, but that's the sourdough.
Yeah, I'm now making sourdough, our own sourdough bread. So, and it's pretty damn good. I'm going to be biased. I can be biased and still be honest. It's pretty damn good sourdough. All right, Ellen has control of the mouse now. She is.
It's a scary thought.
Switching around. Yeah, she's switching around. All right, hold on a second. Kill that sound. I'm getting an echo and getting feedback. Thank you.
No one else can hear it. It's all right.
No one else can hear it, but I'm hearing 3 voices in my head and feeling dogs whine because they want the bread.
Is that my problem? No. All right. So what you do is, hello.
Is Brentwood our Captain America?
Membership gifting.
I would say definitely. All right. We just gifted. Thank you, Ellen.
I don't want a membership. Rutgers?
Ellen just gifted herself a membership. How cool is that?
Stop gifting me memberships. I got this.
Time to talk to your shrink, Clay. Well, Carson, I'm going to hate to admit this, but that's probably my problem. I don't have a shrink. I am my shrink. Ellen's communicating in her usual language.
I have bread in my mouth. Carson, you're killing me. Please, please, please. If you don't mind, turn the damn thing on. Talk to Melissa. She can help you out. Okay. Melissa, yes, we will do.
Hold on, one at a time.
Okay.
Ray is as a suspect. He is. He the more he testifies, the sketchier he gets.
Oh, he is so criminal and sketchy.
Yeah. I just got a problem with a cabinet level officer evading questions from the Congress he is supposed to answer to. I just do. Carson, you made Carson's night giving yourself a free membership.
That was not my intention.
All right, Melissa. Member video ideas, tour of your bookshelves, sourdough baking, and chat about what's in the bottles.
We have so many things. We even have the original Mac computer on the shelf back here. We're in front of Clay.
Yeah.
It works. And it's functional. Don't know why. We even have the keyboard. Hold on.
Yeah, the original, the first few Macs were actually signed in the back by Jobs and Wozniak. So I've got one of those.
Yours is signed?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that. Yep. Fucktard.
Yeah, when they first came out, I thought that was cooler than grits, so I wanted to buy one. Ellen gives me a piece of bread while I'm talking. Of course, can't eat it while I'm talking, so she eats it for me. Yeah. That's the way things work around here. So some interesting idea. My books, I'm honestly a little bit embarrassed because I've gotten rid of so many of them.
He got rid of 10,000. That's very
embarrassing
for him.
Yeah, and mad because now I think of, I'll be doing something and I think, oh, I need this book. And all of a sudden it hits me, I don't have them anymore. So I'm irritated.
We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bookcases full.
I mean, I've still got a few, but I'm probably down to 1,000 from a pretty decent collection. And I love my books. I have always loved just, even looking at them makes me feel peaceful. I know that's weird, but for me, reading has always been a joy. When I was a kid, parents would always buy me books. Sometimes I would be sick, put my head next to the heating vent to make it a little warm. Then I'd tell mom I had a fever. She'd come in and feel me. She'd go, okay. So she'd run out and buy me 2 or 3 or 4 Hardy's boys books, 3rd grade or whatever. And I'd read them in 40 minutes, an hour. Just always loved reading. So,
and all of the books he had, we used to have 6 additional bookshelves upstairs, right? With the big ones.
Do what now?
The 6 big bookshelves upstairs in the.
Oh, I used to have
in Mahoney's room.
Yeah, I used to have more than that.
I just meant here.
Yeah.
And he's read every single book. My ADHD butt would just, my mind would explode.
Susan, Ray, look at his background, question it, connect the dots. Haven't really gone into a lot of detail about his background, but at your suggestion, it sounds like you know something. I'll do it. That might be interesting. Carson, look, I have no idea why, but it doesn't look like I can turn on gifted memberships here.
Melissa, help this poor boy.
Send him olives and help him turn on gifted memberships. Don't know how, but what?
Okay, Carson, drive down to Melissa's, get some olives, learn how to do it, and then drive back to Canada.
There's a Big Bang Theory episode about that too. I obviously have not watched enough of the Big Bang Theory.
Really? It is so funny.
I know that the girl is actually a nuclear physicist. The one that plays a little goofy, does she play a dumb girl?
His girlfriend?
No, what's her name? Malik something?
What are you talking about?
On Big Bang Theory.
The blonde girl that was...
No, not the blonde, the dark-haired one.
I don't know. It's been a while. Now there's like the young Sheldon, which is kind of cool. Oh, I know who you're talking about. The physics girl.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Malum Balik. Balik.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Da-da-da-da.
They can't see this.
Studied neuroscience at the University of California, Los Angeles.
Yeah, they can't see this.
She's also written a book about parenting based on the science of hormones in parent-child bonding. Not that you need a neuroscience degree to be a good parent, but my reflections are absolutely informed by my understanding of the hormones of attachment, which were the subject of my thesis. So,
oh, that's right. She was Blossom.
Yeah. Her PhD research at UCLA, her PhD research in neuroscience focused on obsessive compulsive disorder among people with Prader-Willi syndrome, a rare condition in which the hypothalamus malfunctions. So are y'all fascinated by this yet? So yeah, I was wrong. She's not a nuclear physicist. She's just a neuroscientist. So forgive me.
Biologist. Melissa would know.
Melissa, I feel the same way about my books. Amen.
We literally could have filled a 10-foot ceiling, 9-foot ceiling?
Yeah.
10 by 10 room. If we took all of Clay's books, it would have filled the whole room up.
Yeah, I had a good sized box. I think I had every Hardy's Boy book that had been published. I kept them, and when my baby had a baby, gave her. My sister had Nancy Drew. I had Hardy Boys, so gave Mac the Nancy Drew and gave Archer the Hardy Boys books. So they're getting another round of use. Susan, can I just say I truly adore Ellen. That's what a marriage should be. Love you both. Thank you all for all that you contribute. You're really very sweet, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
And Melissa coming up with the info. Correct my correction. I can't talk. Correcting my initial statement that she was a nuclear physicist or something.
Susan got him all flustered.
Yeah. Miami Biolic. Okay, I'll go with that. Like I say, have not watched the show. I just remember, just popped in my head that she had her PhD in some modestly challenging science.
Just call her Blossom. It's much easier.
Yeah, Blossom is definitely easier. Melissa, love both the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew. Any wonder I grew up to love true crime. You know, I love true crime. Now, this last season, the show True Crime sucked, but forensic shows, I like good murder mysteries with a good plot. I like, and maybe it comes from, the initial interest in Hardy Boys, investigating, thinking, trying to build, Chunk.
I'm going to take him out.
Is a whiny butt.
Come on, Chunk. He's being a turd.
He is a whiny little butt. Nailed it, Clay. I was close. Close counts. Yeah, but that was just some good times reading Hardy Boys. I still remember laying in the bed reading the books, and it was just enjoyable. Once I started, I didn't want to put them down. And there's a fair amount of books that I could say the same thing. Getting my PhD, I started the PhD program in 2004, finished in 2008 or 9. So 4 or 5 years. And for the next 5 or 6 years, all I did was research, trying to get tenure, trying to get, pubs out. Well, it hit me one day, probably after the first season of Game of Thrones, which I enjoyed, that I hadn't read anything for pleasure in over a decade. And I thought, that's just wrong. So I actually bought the Game of Thrones books, the ones that he had written so far. and read them. And I got to admit, once I started reading them, I didn't want to put them down. I mean, they're, that thick, 2 or 3 of them. So I had to put them down. But I remember just really enjoying that feeling of not wanting to put them down. And I miss that. Now I read, kind of a variety of books. Some of them I have to kind of labor through. I want to finish them because I, started reading them for a reason, or I think the information's important. It's just not quite as enjoyable to read. And I don't do a lot of fiction. I'm usually not a big fiction reader. I like some of C.S. Lewis's, some of Tolkien's, some of Martin's, a few other writers here and there, but most of mine generally is for educational purposes. So, but I miss that feeling. I was just sitting here thinking I hadn't read something that I hadn't wanted to put down in quite a while. Carson, close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear weapons, particularly if you're Russian. For those of you who don't know, Russian technology in terms of aiming and guidance is not quite as precise as, say, ours. So they make their bombs bigger. And they have some really huge bombs. So that was that comment. What else is going on in the world? Other than the dogs being noisy and whining.
Sean got a tinkle now. I have to tinkle, so I'll be back in just a second.
Why didn't you do it when he was doing it?
Outside?
Yeah. Most people probably don't pay attention or watch, but my background's in fixed income, bonds, derivatives. And so I still pay attention to the treasury markets, the fixed rate markets. I believe it's the most important market in terms of understanding the real trends in the economy. I believe it's the most sophisticated market. And paying attention to the treasuries lately, it's hard not to notice that they've been a little busy, kicking off what will be a very busy year with new debt issuance expected to be around $2.5 to $3 trillion. That's new debt we're borrowing this year alone. Remember, in 2019, the total debt borrowed was about $460 billion. So we're looking at an 8 or 9-fold increase just in 5 years. Now, in addition to the $3 billion in new debt, $3 trillion in new debt that we're going to borrow this year, we're also going to refinance about $8 trillion.
What's that interest going to cost
us? This month, we've seen the 2-year and 10-year treasury rates have been absolutely busting out, jumping. 2-year, for example, is up about 50 basis points to 4.26%, and the 10 years up about 40 basis points to 4.26%. Now, that may not seem much, or that may not strike you as something terribly fascinating, but I'm telling you, it is terribly fascinating because those are huge increases in bond yields, in interest rate cost for the government to borrow. Those are huge increases compared to how much bonds usually move. Now, that's information. Why are treasury yields exploding? Well, first being the Treasury doesn't expect rate cuts anytime soon. It's Treasury buyers, again, sophisticated, intelligent buyers. Well, they're signaling they don't expect rate cuts anytime soon. So they're demanding higher and higher yields. Your dog.
You want me to fix it?
Yeah, fix him.
I can't. Hey, Sky Ricky. He has not gotten nearly enough airtime in the past few weeks, so he wants to say hi.
The little black booger.
I know you can't see him, but it's come. But there he is.
Sky Ricky, the jury is deliberating in the Michelle Troconis trial in Connecticut.
I'm not familiar with that.
That makes two of us. Sky, you're going to have to update us because we just are not familiar with that. Melissa knows. Oh, y'all going to have to start sending me the poop on these some of these trials and cases that y'all track.
The poop?
Good. Scoop.
Oh, you said poop.
Did I say poop? Sorry, I meant scoop. Scoop. You're going to have to start sending me the scoop on these cases because I'm not able to follow them during the day. And then something like this comes up. And I'll admit, some of the things during the Depp trial were fascinating.
He wants the bread.
This dog is going nuts. This dog is going nuts over my sourdough bread. I just want y'all to know that. He is an outstanding judge of superior sourdough bread.
Fotis, the husband, owes $2 million to in-laws. Why? For come? You got to give some to Rue, or she's going to lose her mind.
Pinching it off. Here you go.
Why does he owe money to the in-laws? Help me out here, Sky.
Fotis, F. Otis owes $2 million to Enloe. So he kills his wife.
It's about the money. Okay, gotcha.
Brings new meaning to show me the money.
Sky Ricky, apparently you missed the part where I asked Clay where his key for his Bitcoin Ethereum was. He was like, I ain't telling you.
My seed phrase wallet.
Yeah. I'll never kill you.
I know. I'm not terribly worried. And you pretty much know where everything is anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
Treasuries.
Pick something.
So back to the treasuries. The yield has increased. Now, remember, we've talked about several times the teeter-totter, where you've got interest rates and you've got price. And as interest rates rise, the price falls. So when fewer people want to buy the treasury bonds, their price falls. The yield rises. So when you see the treasury rates rising that fast, that means there's a pretty damn significant drop in demand or price. Let's just say a pretty significant drop in price. Well, treasury bonds have a supply and demand function. If supply increases rapidly and demand remains constant, price drops.
He wants more bread.
Price drops. And that's what we're seeing. Supply is outstripping demand. And so the price drops. The Treasury is going to have to pay higher and higher and higher rates. These rapid increases that we're seeing in Treasury yields only show that the Treasury is trying to borrow more than the market is willing to buy at sub 4% rates. So the rates are going up.
Nobody wants our debt. No one wants to buy it.
Rates are going up, and they're going to probably continue going up as the supply of these government bonds continues to soar.
He doesn't have any more time.
We're not done yet. The Treasury also had a 20-year auction recently, past couple of weeks. Horrible auction. The dealers had to pick up 20% of it, which is terribly, terribly expensive to them. They're buying bonds that literally nobody else wants to buy. And that's part of their obligation as a Treasury securities dealer. That's simply not sustainable. They cannot continue to buy that amount of the Treasury issuance. So that's a big problem to keep an eye on. Inflation's still bumping up, which, begs the question. And I want you to consider this. I want you to think about this. If inflation isn't theft, why can't individuals print money?
Because that'd be stealing.
If individuals print money, the government considers them to be stealing, counterfeiting. So why is it that the government can do the very same thing and that not be theft or counterfeiting? If the government doesn't have enough money, it just prints more, which creates inflation. But then they say, there are some in government that say, no, it doesn't create inflation. Well, if it doesn't create inflation, why can't individuals print money? Why wouldn't that be? Why would that be theft when the government does it and it's not theft? If individuals could print money, we could print enough and give to everyone. So everyone would have money to spend. How cool would that be?
But it wouldn't be worth anything. Same way as the government. Go get your ball.
So if I print money, it's counterfeiting. So what do we call it when the government continues to print money? Legal counterfeiting? Milton Friedman. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Milton Friedman.
What?
He was being a little noisy.
Well, yeah.
Anybody want a Morkie? We've got one for sale cheap.
No, we don't. You love that dog. Stop it.
Milton Friedman, a University of Chicago economist, 60s and 70s, won the Nobel Prize for his ideas on monetary theory, was an expert on money. Still quoted, still cited today. Highly respected guy. Well, he talked about how inflation is like alcoholism. So this is 30 seconds long.
Real quick. This is Lava Sankova. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Let's see. Isn't it established by law that only the government can print money? Yes.
Only the Federal Reserve can print money.
Well, the federal government, the Bureau of Mint prints the physical currency and the Federal Reserve prints digital currency.
Isn't most of it all digital at this point?
Most of it is. And
welcome. This is Lava.
Yeah, appreciate you joining us tonight. Welcome to the family. So take 30 seconds and listen here to Milton Friedman's description of inflation being like alcoholism.
Inflation is just like alcoholism. In both cases, when you start drinking or when you start printing too much money, the good effects come first. The bad effects only come later. That's why, in both cases, there's a strong temptation to overdo it, to drink too much and to print too much money. When it comes to the cure, it's the other way around. When you stop drinking or when you stop printing money, the bad effects come first and the good effects only come later.
Dagnabbit.
That is a brilliant Cliff Notes summary of the impacts of inflation and why does the government keep printing money. He's basically describing in a nutshell how government printing of money robs the poor and the middle class. The good effects are when it's first printed. Now, what are the good effects? Well, the good effects are whoever prints that money, the government, can spend that money at its current value. It takes some time as money enters the market to cause prices to increase because the market's not aware that this new money is entering the market. So it's able to buy goods and services at the current price.
That's kind of fucked up.
Well, after it circulates some and the supply of money is now chasing more goods, inflation happens. The prices of the goods increase. But it takes some time. So the idea is the good effects that Friedman's talking about is that the government buys things at the current exchange rate. The money then enters the circulation. You get paid, and by that time you get the money.
The government's already
prices. Yeah, the government's already used it. You get it later, the prices have already increased or are increasing. So the government spending doesn't have the inflationary impact that very day. It takes a little time for it to create the continued inflation, but the impacts over time are clear and unmistakable.
It's a continuous screw you to the people.
It
The
is.
government's already gotten their benefit out of the money being printed.
This is how government appropriates wealth from citizens and impoverishes them while enriching itself. So government gets to spend the money while it has greater value. By the time it gets to you, it has less value. And you can buy less with that same amount of money than what the government bought with it.
That seems fair.
Now, why do they do this? Well,
It
keep
helps
in mind,
them.
they have incentives to do it. They have incentives to keep printing money and spending. That spending attracts votes. It attracts loyalty from the recipients. It attracts this loyalty up until the point when hyperinflation hits, inflation greater than 10 or 12%, and the walls start crashing down.
Let me ask you a question. While I've got you in a bit of a pause, there is it's floating out there that the Fed is not going to lower interest rates
Not anytime soon.
because they had said they were going to.
Well,
And
the indications was that they may start cutting rates even during this March meeting.
And now they're saying
No
not
chance.
really going to happen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they're back to higher for longer. And if inflation continues to increase, it's increased the past 4 months. If it continues to increase another month or two, probably won't do anything in March. But in the April meeting, wouldn't be surprised to, if inflation increases for February and March, wouldn't be surprised to see them hike rates again, even higher.
So you're saying, wait, that's not teeter-totter. Inflation goes up, rates go up.
Yeah, teeter-totter is just for a bond
Okay.
or a mortgage.
Okay.
It's not necessary for the economy as a whole, but if you see interest rates going up, the value of bonds are falling.
Which nobody wants our bonds anyway. But at the same time, how are people supposed to buy homes if the interest rates keep going up? How are, especially young people, and with all of the influx of new refugees into the country, taking up all the housing, how does that work? How does that make sense?
Well, I mean, it's supply and demand and how all that balances out. I can't say specifically because the new refugees definitely are taking up rental units, hotel rooms, rental properties, whatever the government rents for their
But the government
lodging.
paying for that. What
Government
about
pays for that.
actual Americans? How does that affect them?
Well, if there's more competition for the available rental units, rents will generally over time go up.
That Americans can't even afford right now.
As interest rate, that is offset by the increase in interest rates, which make buying a house harder. So as fewer and fewer people are buying houses, we started seeing housing prices fall.
Are we?
Yeah, the median home price has fallen to about, I forget the exact number, 421,000. It was 480 earlier in the year. The flip side is all of the sales are in houses above 550,000. So the upper end of the market is holding steady. The middle and lower end of the market is falling.
So how does, okay, I'm gonna throw another.
No, there's no precise answer.
Oh, I know. I'm just gonna throw another what do you call it?
Chunk.
In there.
Hush.
So with all of the quote unquote refugees coming in, illegal refugees coming into the country, and that takes the median middle to lower class income down, correct?
Indirectly and over time, yes, because they provide more labor,
Right.
cheaper wages, lower wages.
Right. So then add that to the scenario, and it just seems like we're in for a disaster.
It is going to be a big problem or even a huge problem. There's just practical realities in the world. There's only so many jobs to go around, particularly in the lower end of the pay scales. So as you have more and more people competing for those jobs, obviously those wages don't go up. As you have more and more people buying goods, the prices for those go up. As you have the government subsidizing the migrants more and more, government spending goes up, government borrowing goes up, government debt goes up, government sales of debt go up, interest rates go up further.
So if you have the government paying for the housing and pretty much living of these illegal immigrants coming in, right? And they're getting jobs that are lower income. So technically, they're in a better position than those in poverty in America, Americans who are citizens. Even if you're, a legal immigrant or whatever.
Yeah,
doesn't that create a whole nother set of issues?
It's very reasonable to expect the net impact when you have such excessive immigration. And keep in mind, immigration has gone from 400,000. We're just talking about illegal immigration, not legal. Legal's about the same, hadn't changed.
We love legal immigration.
Yeah, we need doctors, engineers. Legal immigrants come over with their own money. They have to prove themselves able to get a job on their own, etc.
They add to our country. They add to the experience.
Yeah. But illegal immigration has gone in 3 years from 400,000 illegally crossing to nearly 2.4 million crossing illegally.
The past 4 years, it's been 10.5 now.
In total.
That we know about.
Yeah. This huge volume is the problem, is a very real problem, because where they live, where do they get jobs, who pays for them, etc. So it's not just legal versus illegal. It's just the huge surge in illegals that are now coming across. Mm-hmm. It's just overwhelming the cities. It's overwhelming the states. It's overwhelming the schools. It's overwhelming healthcare centers. The VA is even starting to treat these, and the VA has a waiting list of 400,000 vets waiting for treatment. So if the VA is now starting to treat illegal immigrants, that's only going to delay services to the vets even longer.
Who fought for the freedoms and the rights of people in this country, which I find disgusting. No.
There's just limited availability of resources. And we're flooding the country with people who demand or need those limited resources. That's ultimately a problem.
We have a ball issue, excuse me.
Yeah. I don't blame anybody for wanting to come and make more money, earn a better living. But the practical reality, who do you take care of first? People who don't live in this country or people who are already here? The non-citizens or the citizens? The non-citizens or the vets? There are trade-offs that you have to make. So do we draw a line, or is it just a free-for-all? No, is it just a completely open border?
You've got to draw a line.
Also, the customs, several state, DAs have released information recently that over 83,000 children are missing from the system that have been released by customs to non-parental guardians, non-parents, somebody that just claims to be their guardian. 83,000. The likelihood or the probability is that a lot of these have been exploited, sex trafficked.
Moffett, I was listening to one of the congressmen today, and I think it was from a few months back, but he was saying that he talked to the head of the border security of all, in Texas. And he says they come with like phone numbers and addresses written on their arms or on a piece of paper or something. And he said, and the question was asked, like, do you know where they're going? Do you know if they're being sex trafficked? Do you know if they are being exploited for labor? He said, we know they are. And there's nothing we can do about it.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's just wrong. You know, we're maintaining an open, you know, you see huge fentanyl bust almost weekly, bi-weekly. They just busted what, 26,000 pounds of fentanyl?
Enough to kill almost everybody in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what they catch. And they estimate they catch somewhere around 5 to 10% of all drugs entering the country. So if that's 10% of the fentanyl entering the country, that's just insane. That's just looking for mass slaughter.
Where's the, just so people can understand, why do you have all these weird pens in here? Need a normal ballpoint pen.
Well, there's a pencil. You said you wanted a pencil.
A normal, no, I said, why are these up? Okay, this should be it. If you can show that, the amount of fentanyl that will fit on the end of that pen
On the tip of the ballpoint pen.
will kill someone.
So when you bring in thousands of pounds of fentanyl, why?
An illegal guy just murdered a nursing student
in Georgia.
I think that's what Susan was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Susan brought that up. We forgot to go back to it, but Susan brought that up. In addition, MS-13 is a gang that has used the open borders extensively to recruit new members into their ranks, to bring in members from Central South America into their ranks. The interesting thing about MS-13, besides being a violent gang, is their entrance requirement. In order to become a full member, you have to murder somebody in cold blood. Just walk up to them on the street, shoot them. Walk up to them while they're sitting in their car, shoot them. That's your entrance requirement. So for every new member of MS-13, at least one innocent person dies.
And that's before they got here.
No, they do that when they're here.
Oh, if they have the tat, they have to have already done it.
Yeah, but they come in without the tat. This is recruiting new members.
Okay, but the ones that have been proven they have the MS-13 tat have already
done it. Once you're in, you get the tat.
And they came across the border and were let in freely. Come on in.
So we've got some problems, and they're not going to be quick fix. They're not going to be easily solvable. You know, I've said several times over the past year that I expect chaos to keep increasing, uncertainty. And it has, and it's going to continue to.
Yep.
So, you know, what can you do? Well, you know, I see videos of, you know, people talking about how they can't go out at night because of the risk. You know, in terms of personal risk, you know, you see a lot of people fleeing these cities where crime is just skyrocketing. Some people don't have that opportunity.
Yep.
So, one is just awareness. Don't take risk you can't afford to take. Two, what can you plan for? What can you control? If you think uncertainty is increasing, then you want to start preparing for it. You know, some of this would be being able to purify water, being able to raise your own food, start saving. We've talked about several times how to begin investing with just $50 a month.
But can you trust the digital currency if something really happens?
Well, if electronics shut down, your currency isn't going to be any good either.
It's worth
zero. Gold worth zero. Everybody will be scrambling and fighting over food and water.
Well, that's one thing that, like, we have a neighbor. She's a bit older.
We really do have a neighbor. I promise.
We have lots of them. A bit older than you and I. And she asked me what she could do. And I said, this was like 2 years ago. I said, every time you go to the grocery store, just buy a couple extra cans of food. It's simple. And it might seem stupid. But, and you keep, when you buy something else, of course, you rotate the stock. So you're not using the newest canned food. You're using the oldest. And just to keep it kind of just in case.
Yeah,
just in case.
It takes a little effort and it takes some time. But, like during the COVID lockdowns, you all remember times when the shelves started getting empty of certain goods. A lot of people ran out of toilet paper.
You saw this coming before it ever happened with toilet paper. And we ended up, there was a girl on Facebook who she had a daughter, a little like 2-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
She and her husband, she's like, can anybody have a roll of toilet paper? And we ended up meeting them somewhere and giving them like a pack because you had bought extra like 2 months before everything went crazy. You just gotta, and that is your key to be able to trade things, especially if everything goes to crap. If you have extra toilet paper, if you've got extra anything, you can trade it for other things. I mean, clay can throw sutures. It's helpful.
And I'm not trying to be a doomsday prepper, but I am telling you that increased chaos is coming. I don't know exactly the extent of it. I don't know exactly the timing of it. I don't know where you live, how it will exactly impact you. But you need to be thinking about it and you need to start preparing for it as best you can. Realize what is most essential, what is most important. Suppose electronics go down. Suppose, food prices keep soaring. What happens? How do people react? How do they respond? We saw what happened in Katrina.
Oh God, it was awful.
I mean, I had friends working for, BlackRock, as a private security down there. And there was a number of areas that were just no-go zones where you had gangs wandering, taking advantage of individuals and, whatever. I won't go into all the detail, but what happens if, electricity goes down, terrorist attacks, take out the electrical grid, and your area's without electricity for a few months.
If the electrical grid goes out, it'll be out for 3 or 4 years.
Probably.
Okay, Carson, no. You listen to Moffat on money. What the hell's wrong with you? Have I taught you nothing?
The main thing is most people who watch our show or view the show may not have tons of money that they can go out and just, do all this prep work at once. But the important thing is try to learn some skills that you can use. Try to start anticipating how you would adapt if things go to hell in a handbasket for a short time or an extended period of time. Carson, I can listen to both.
Not at the same time, because we're much better.
The main thing we want is just, I see this life, I see this country, this world as having certain risk. And that comes from my background in finance. That comes from, 40 years of experience traveling around the world. And I've been in most countries, almost every continent.
Mm-hmm. Not Antarctica?
Not Antarctica. Not looking to go there. Thank you very much.
Just checking.
But I do see this world as possessing risk. and it may be 20% chance of happening. But if it does happen, is that a risk you can afford to take? And I guess the heart and soul of this show is really about managing risk, understanding what's going on in finances better, understanding what's going on in the economy and government better, so that you can make better decisions on how best to manage your situation, your money, your future, take advantage of the opportunities, reduce the pain of crises, whatever. Manage risk.
Our goal is to just give you the information that you need to make the best decisions that you can. And we hope, pray that none of this stuff ever happens. But I think it's not unwise to be prepared for any of this. And I mean, what if I'm talking about that? I don't think there's a good scenario coming up in the election in November in the US. I think if Biden wins, Trump supporters are going to freak out. If Trump wins, the Democrats are going to freak out. And there is just no good answer. And then we have this whole illegal alien community that in all but or in 13 states can vote without an ID. I don't know. I mean, this is just nuts. And if that is, it's just, y'all, it's crazy. It's so freaking crazy.
Well, just do the math. Government spending, mathematically, can it continue borrowing huge sums, unlimited sums, ever increasing sums, however you want to describe it, without consequences? No. Can it continue printing money without consequences? Can you continue importing millions of immigrants every year without consequences? What are those consequences?
Destroying the United States.
And when exactly does it hit? I can't tell you exactly when it hits. I am fairly confident those all are major and significant problems. I can tell you that all of those major and significant problems aren't going to be solved or cured anytime soon.
And they're not going away.
I can tell you all of those major and significant problems, when they are when a solution is attempted, that there's going to be some problems. The migrants that are here getting free money, free housing, free food, sending money back to their home. When the police come to evict them, are they all going to go peacefully?
No.
We saw a case saw a video in a situation where police went to arrest one guy who had assaulted an officer, and the other migrants were all started jumping back on the police. So what happens when those same police come to try to get everybody on board a bus to head back to their native home? That's going to be interesting.
Good night, Morrison. I know you got your oldest daughter on there, and then you got to talk to her.
Yep.
Have fun.
And my sister has been to Antarctica. So is Antarctica warmer than Canada?
I don't think so. But his sister went to. He actually sent me a message over a year ago and said, I can't find Fort Bragg. My sister went to Fort Bragg. I said, yeah, it's fucking Fort Liberty now. So have fun.
Carson, one other thing before you go real quick. This is kind of an interesting bit in the news I saw. Canada, medically assisted deaths could save millions in healthcare spending. So how cool is that? Euthanasia will save us money in medical costs.
Wait, small children in Asia?
Yeah. It's think about the implications. Growing old is expensive.
It is.
So don't grow old. Save your country money.
That's ugly. No, I know that's what it says, Canada. Trudeau, jackass.
Oh. So
yeah, that is your country, Carson. I know it's yeah.
Sky, Carson,
Susan. Who are we talking to?
All right, y'all. It is 10 after 9.
We went past time.
We are a little bit long in the tooth.
Susan, I'm going to look into that harmony mount. You sent me an email on that, and I'm going
Yes.
to look into it. I just had so much on the freaking, what do you call it?
Table
No, let them let you speak.
schedule.
Ta-ta.
Well, she's got a lot to do.
Y'all, I'm so tired.
So we'll go with that. I've had a long few days. So we're going to go ahead and make a graceful exit here. We really want to thank y'all for joining us tonight. If you will, please do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, share with all your friends, family.
Please, please, please. We want to get this out to more people.
Elected officials.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
And we really, love y'all. Appreciate you joining us. Look forward to seeing you Saturday night. We'll talk about something. Don't know what.
We'll figure it out between now and
We'll
then.
figure it out between now and then. If you've got any ideas, questions, feel free to email us or at either moffatonmoney@gmail or moffatonmoney on Twitter. DM me. Thank you all. Wish you all a great rest of the week. And we thank you for your time. Our time is up.
Thank you for becoming
Good
a
night.
member, Susan. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan. Talk to y'all soon.